Hi guys, it's Logan. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, I'd just like to give a quick little update on how learning Spanish has been, kind of what my process has looked like, and then what I'm gonna try and do next in this next month of learning and studying Spanish. So, how do I think it's going? Well, I'm starting to think, text, and speak in semi coherent sentences, um, just enough to where Spanish speaking people can try and get an idea of what I'm trying to say, right? An example of this would be like Friday, I was getting my hair cut, and I think to my buddy Sebastian, I was trying to say, I want to talk without thinking too much. And what I said was, o sea, quiero hablar sin penso demasiado. And he was like, "Are you cooking? Are you cooking?" And I was like, "I think I am." And then he said that I needed to use pensando, which is also wrong. I think depending on what country you live in, you might have to use pensar, but that's besides the point. Um, that sentence was just enough to where he could kind of understand what I was trying to say. And all that to say, I think it's going okay. And it's a good segue in what I'm about to talk about next. So one of the best things that I've been doing here recently is just trying to talk to my friends Mauricio and Sebastian in Spanish only. Really, I try to use vocab words that I've been learning, stuff like that, to try and have meaningful conversations with my friends. And most of the time, that's what sticks more than flashcards, courses, songs, reading. It's really just talking to your friends and kind of bouncing ideas off of them to see what sticks, right? Um, just I'm in the middle of saying a sentence in Spanish and I'm like, okay, how do you say this? Como se dice blah blah blah, and they're like, you say it like this, and I'm like, okay, done. And then I ask them like a few follow up questions like, how can I say this while also saying this, or like past tense questions. And even though I'm a beginner and past tense, I know is kind of advanced and there are a bunch of tenses. I'd like to know that just to have it. And I don't know the science behind it, but I know that having conversations with them regularly is way better than any flashcard or anything like that. So yeah. The second thing that I've been using is Anki flashcards. I learned of this when I was in college at Clemson, and a lot of like med school students that I knew, and even like engineering majors that I knew, they were using it. And it's basically a spaced repetition software. And if you're really, really, really honest with yourself, it can do like bounds and leaps for your learning and studying. So I started using it. I'm doing the essential Spanish vocabulary top 5,000 or whatever. I'm doing 20 words a day, and I usually have around like 30 words to review. So in total, like around 50 words a day, roughly. And using is more funny than anything because I'll randomly just drop a vocab word when I'm talking to Mauricio or Sebastian or even like Seth, and they'd be like, "How do you know that?" I'm like, "I got Anki, bro. I know everything." So that's been more funny than anything. The third thing I've been using is Rocket Languages, and I know a lot of people are against using courses, and I know things like Duolingo, Rocket Languages, what is it, Rosetta Stone, and then other stuff I don't remember off the top of my head, but I know people are kind of against that, and they're more prone to recommend you a tutor and stuff like that. But back to my first point, I have Mauricio and Sebastian to kind of tutor me in their native tongue. So that's kind of that's why that was my first thing that I said. But all that to say, I'm kind of new to learning a new language, so I'll take whatever I can get. And Rocket Languages is there, and I saw good reviews, and I took the plunge. I'm investing in myself, whatever. It's really, really well paced. If we're talking about the lessons that they have, so they do flashcards, they do listening, they do typing, like writing it out, and then they do speaking. I think I already said that, but um, and they do that all in one lesson, and then they do a quiz at the end. So it's like drilling these words and these sayings and these ideas that they have for you to visualize and attach it to a word, and then they drill it into you for like 30 minutes to an hour. So, excuse me. So, yeah, I think it's very well paced, and I would recommend it. I'll probably do a more in depth review of it in a later video, but as of right now, I'm not that deep into it. Maybe once I get to one of the later levels of the course, I'll go ahead and give my review on it. The fourth and final thing that I've been using is a combination of really two things. I bought a book. It's called Short Stories in Spanish for Beginners, and getting songs off the internet like the Maria's Ay No Puedo, or Omar Apollo's En Olvido, something like that. I take these songs, I either write out the lyrics or I print it out, and I try and go through, listen to it a few times, and then I try to translate it into English as best as I can. And that's where doing flashcards and learning these verbs and talking to my friends, I can usually just text them or call them and be like, hey, what does this mean? And I'm trying not to use Google Translate or anything. Just strictly just trying to go off of what I know and all the conjugations and the vocab, and I try and translate it. Once I get to a point where I'm stuck and I can't use context from the other words to figure out what a phrase or a sentence means in the song, I'll usually go to Genius or something like that to look at the English translated lyrics, because they're more than likely going to be accurate. And I start, taking a word here or there and then trying to see if I can make sense of it then. And then the short stories, it's pretty good. I read it. I think it's Spain Spanish, so I don't. There are some things that differ between Spain Spanish and Latin American Spanish from what I've been reading and just talking to my friends about, but it's okay. I can usually read through it 2 or 3 times and I can understand like a lot of things, and that's just where the talking to my friends and the flashcards have been coming in clutch, crazy clutch. So yeah, I like reading it. I read like a chapter a day, and then I read through it a few times and then look at the vocab words at the end. So that's super helpful. And yeah, as for what I'm going to do in the future, I talked to Mauricio about it, but I think I'm going to get a grammar workbook, because that's what I've been struggling with here lately, is that I'll have all the right words sometimes, but I'll like flip 2 words and I'll just completely change the meaning of the sentence based off of switching those 2 words. And they're like, dude, you have to switch it. And I think that's like the main thing that I've been having trouble with is like grammar. So what I think I'm going to do is get a grammar workbook and start working through that as well. And just start stacking these things, like talking to my friends, flashcards, reading, writing, grammar, maybe even podcasts in the future. I was looking at this YouTube video and they're plugging a bunch of podcasts that the subjects that they're talking about, they're semi-interesting. So trying to connect those two in my brain would be beneficial to me, I believe. So yeah. Anyway, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed, please drop a like, subscribe, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day.